Hello everybody and welcome to Calls. This is the 2022 Fall Statistical Analysis Show. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving, lots of good food, ate as much as you could. Me personally, I don't think I woke up from my turkey coma until Saturday and then proceeded to watch a bunch of college football, college basketball, and all that. So definitely got a late start to my week, and that's probably the biggest reason why I have a slight change in the schedule for this evening. I thought I was going to begin the comparison course reviews and previews, but just ran out of time. Gathering all that data is pretty time consuming, and I underestimated that quite a bit. But I plan to have that done next week, barring any major setbacks. So be on the lookout for that next Tuesday. But tonight I wanted to take a look into the fall portion of the 2022 season that just wrapped up with the RSM a couple of weeks ago. And I thought it'd be interesting to see if we could figure out any players that may have overachieved or perhaps underachieved, some maybe data outliers that we can hone in on and kind of take advantage of moving into the beginning part of calendar year 2022. But Tournament Century of Champions, Sony, just the beginning of the restart. So that is what's on the docket for tonight. A bit of a different show. I don't have a kind of outline or plan moving into this show. This was kind of spur of the moment, realizing that I didn't have enough data or enough information, or as much as I would like in anyway, to talk about the comparison course stuff. So kind of flying by the seat of my pants more than I normally do, which is a lot. So if you're watching live, please jump in chat. This is one opportunity where this can be a extremely viewer directed show. Whatever you're wanting to see from this fall, or any questions that you might have, random thoughts and such. So by all means, please jump in chat. It is live. It's open. Would love the interaction. Want to hear from you all. As always, the statistics are provided by fantasynational.com. Amazing resource. Go check it out. I can't stress it enough. I say it every episode, every show. And then finally, the links to my social media are in the description, as well as the email contact to get a hold of me if you're wanting to be a part of the bonus material. So I will say there is going to be no bonus material tomorrow. I have some plans that have come up. I have been, what shall we say, I guess independently contracted to take a look at being a part of a possible project. So that meeting is tomorrow. So no bonus content, unfortunately, for you all tomorrow, but that will pick up next week. So if you're interested in getting all the bonus and exclusive content, make sure you email me at the email address in the description to make sure you're added to the distribution list. But with all that out of the way, let's look into the 2022 fall statistics. And we're going to transition over here to Microsoft Excel. Let the camera get focused in there. And this is going to be a very data-centric show. There's just going to be a lot of numbers being thrown around. Let me make sure I have chat up and such. So hopefully your eyes won't gloss over and such. This is kind of what I do for fun. I'm a maniac and a masochist and all that stuff. But again, what I've done here, I have grabbed every single result from the overview type, overheads type statistics, strokes gained, tee, approach, around the green, putting. Every metric that is calculated and provided on Fantasy National, I've went ahead and grabbed all the way over to, you can't see the so there's the par fours there, and I'll have to scroll over even more here. You've got the par fives and the proximity. Now I don't have the putting. I just didn't know if that was going to be useful, seeing 0 to 5, 5 to 10, all that stuff, and certainly it might be. But I think this will be a good moment to tell or to explain that this is actually going to be a precursor to a much larger show the week before the Century Tournament of Champions really kicks off. So, let me check the calendar here. So Sunday, what? Let's see. Sunday the what is this? Sunday the 2nd? Looks like. Sunday, January 2nd, will be the Century Tournament of Champions initial research show. The Monday will be the data dive. So the Tuesday before that, Tuesday, December 28th, will be a show for salary type leagues and information, and it'll just be a major show. It's something that I'm looking forward to, so I don't want to get too much ahead of ourselves there. A lot of info, great info to be in that show. This is kind of a precursor to that. So again, I went back to every single tournament that happened in the fall, the ones I counted. The Ryder Cup isn't in here. So you've got the Fortinet, the first event of the year, and then the Sanderson Farms, all the way down to the RSM. So, hang on, where'd it go? There you go. Down to the RSM. So every single event and every placing, everything, every statistic that's in Fantasy National, I went ahead and brought it to Microsoft Excel. And what I did, I created what I affectionately call the pivot table of awesomeness. This is every player, the number of events that they have played in the fall, the average finish of those events, and then the average overhead type statistics, off the tee, approach, around the green, putting, so on. And again, the biggest thing I want to try and find out is figure out if we can find and identify some guys who perhaps have overachieved, somebody who we might want to take a step back and slow our roll to say on the excitement at the beginning of the year, and then on in the inverse to see if guys don't seem like they're playing well, but the underlying stats say that they are. Maybe they've had some bad luck or something to that effect. So, and again, this is me without really a big plan here. I'm gonna first grab all of this and bring it over to a sortable column here. So let me grab all that, paste it in where I can sort it. So, and then make sure I can do this as well. And we have the capability to look at, all the statistics you can think about. Unfortunately, I can't show you the pivot table fields or the table setup over here on the right, but we have the capability to look at basically anything we want to. So again, if you're watching live, please jump in chat. I really want to know what you're looking at or you're wanting to see. And if you're unfortunately not able to catch this show live, leave it in the comments. What are you seeing in the stats? What do you think or what do you want to see? What's the narrative that you're coming away with from the fall? So the first thing I'm going to do, I am going to sort this massive amount of data, and anyone who's followed me for any amount of time knows that I value stroke gain approach. So I'm going to sort this by stroke gain approach, and again, remember this is by average. So for example, Sam Burns here has played 4 events and has an average of gaining 4.6 strokes per event. Whereas it's different, say, Aaron Baddeley, who's played 1 event. So it looks like he's going to be very high up there in the strokes gain approach category. He's gained 2. You get excited. Just remember, it's been 1 event. So you definitely want to take that with a grain of salt. But somebody that I've kind of honed in on very early on is Tom Hoagy. Tom Hoagy has played 8 events. He has averaged 38th place. Let me move this over here so you all can see the majority of it. There we go. So Tom Hoagy, 8 events. So I believe that's all of the events. Maybe he skipped one. We can check. But his average finish is 38th, which isn't bad. But having seen the strokes gained approach numbers that he has, he's definitely not putt that well. Off the tee has not been great. But seeing this amount of strokes gained approach per tournament, not total, per tournament, really surprises me that he is 38th, at least in the average finish. I mean, he's gaining more strokes per event than somebody like Colin Morikawa, who's, granted, he's only played twice, but, you know, a very, obviously the best iron player in the world. Russell Henley, who's played 5 events, he's gaining more strokes gained approach than Russell Henley. More than Mito Pereira, and everybody knows how high I am on Mito Pereira. Hideki's played 4 times. Kokrak 3, who's a winner. He's gained more strokes gained approach. So let's see if we can find something about Tom Hoagy, and let me change to web page here. Let's see if we can see something about Tom Hoagy that has either perhaps let him down, or just see if we can't get into why he hasn't had the success that he has, or lack thereof. So the first thing that jumps out to me, we've had a lot of Bermuda courses, so Bermuda is his best putting surface. Now, most of these events have been pretty windy, and he does play very, very poorly in the wind, so that definitely could be a part of it. Absolutely. But you look here at the last 5 tournaments, you know, RSM, Houston, Mayakoba, Zozo. So there, let's see, he's played 8. I believe the only tournament in here, or that's not in here, that was part of the fall schedule, is the Bermuda. I believe that's the case. There might be one more, and I'm not thinking of it. Fortinet, Sanderson Farms, Shriners, then the CJ, Zozo, Bermuda, Mayakoba. No. So it's only 9 events are possible. And, you know, Hoagy coming off a top 5 at the RSM, great showing. You know, 4.4 on approach, 1.3 on the greens, which were Bermuda. I mean, he just had a fantastic tournament. Now, the off the tee was certainly middling. It was again, sorry, just making sure chat's still up. You know, it's field average, essentially, a little bit above that. But we can see here from the Fortinet up. Oh, shoot. From the Fortinet up. So I've got that highlighted for you all. His off the tee has been suspect, to be nice. The around the green play has been hit and miss, some good, some bad. The putting has been pretty bad. He did gain 3 at the Shriners. He gained 1.3 at the RSM, and those 2 were his big high finishes. Granted, we don't have any info on the Mayakoba or the Zozo, but he's one of these guys that I'm not putting him in Justin Thomas's category by any means, but he's kind of like a Justin Thomas in when he gets hot with the flat stick, he's going to have some very, very high finishes because the irons are generally there. I mean, sure, he'll have some bad weeks with the irons, but generally the irons are there. So this is somebody that I've keyed in on very early on that could be underrated to start the calendar year 2022. He won't be at the Century Tournament of Champions, so we'll have to see if he's at the Sony and then moving forward the Amex and so on. But historically, he's just not been a very good putter at all. But I want you to notice that a lot of these are bent grass greens. So in the summertime, where you can move, these events are in the north or Midwest where you don't have to worry about the conditions so much. Whereas in the fall season and early January, February. You have to play in some warmer climates, some nicer climates, and those generally have Bermuda. And Bermuda being his best surface, I think he could jump out to a quick 2022. Guaranteed? Absolutely not. But he's certainly one of the guys that I've kind of noticed right off the bat when I was putting this information together. Give me a second. We'll switch back over here to Microsoft Excel. And, we saw the lack of strokes gained off the tee. It's been, fairly mediocre. The putter has been pretty bad. Around the greens, hit and miss. He's been positive, but Tom Hoagy's somebody that I kind of like. I kind of like starting out. Let's see, in the same kind of vein here. Let's see. Aaron Wright, a Korn Ferry Tour graduate, has played quite a bit. He's got an average finish of 55th, so he's missed some cuts in there. But his off the tee game is solid. His irons are solid. Aaron Wright is another kind of person that has piqued my interest. Now the putting is certainly pretty atrocious, but let's see if we can't find what it is that Aaron Wright has struggled at least which tournaments. So doing some fancy stuff here, filters and so on. So let's see, did he play the Bermuda? He did. That's actually not going to be a pretty good one because we don't have the statistics from there. He did finish 62nd, so he made the cut. Let's check the CJ Cup, who did not play. Fortinet, there we go. So the Fortinet, he gained a half a stroke off the tee, was okay with his irons. So this is a pretty much a microcosm here, this first event of the totality of Aaron Wright in the fall. So let's see, we can remember 71st is his average finish, or was his finish at the Fortinet. I'll highlight him here so we don't lose our spot. The off the tee was okay, kind of comparable, half to 4.3, 0.43. 1.2 at the Fortinet. He gains 1.8 essentially across all of them. Around the green, mediocre, but on the negative side of it. The putting has been a big letdown. Let's see here. Let's see if we can find out multiples here. Houston, no, don't think it's going to let me. Oh, there we go. Select multiple. So Fortinet, Houston. So if we know the Bermuda and the CJ Cup were the two he wasn't in, I'm not going to include the Mayakoba because we don't have the information from that. So these five are the all the data that we have. Hopefully I'm making sense there. Internationally, we only have strokes gained total and so on. We don't have the kind of the overview type stuff. If you look at these 5 events that we certainly have data for, the putting has been really bad. The iron play has been very good. The off the tee game has been pretty good. So I'm going to come back over here to Fantasy National. Aaron Wright is somebody that I kind of want to take a look at here. Aaron Wright, again, Korn Ferry Tour graduate. Now, we saw putting. He was very bad at it. Seems like he's pretty bad at the putting anyway. Bermuda certainly has been his worst surface, but he has been pretty good in the wind, and he's been pretty good when it's been difficult. So that hasn't helped him either, because most of these events have been pretty darn easy. Sanderson Farms is pretty easy. The RSM's pretty easy. The Mayakoba is generally pretty easy. Now Houston is tough. The Bermuda was tough this year just due to the conditions. So he's got some decent metrics here that the iron play has been absolute in fuego. Absolute in fuego. Around the green game is hit and miss. The putting apparently is pretty bad. We'd have to take a look into his Korn Ferry Tour stats and try to parse what putting information we could from that. Be pretty hard to do. But Aaron Rai is somebody that is intriguing, I'll say. He missed the first 3 cuts of the year, the first 3 events, and now has 3 straight top 20s heading into calendar year 2022. Now, is this going to cool him off, all that stuff? We don't know. But this is very positive to see heading into the new year, the new events, especially now. I say especially now. The downside is he has historically struggled on Bermuda, so that could be something. Let's see, WGC Mexico, which this year was at Congressional. That is, I think those are Bermuda as well. It looks like he's almost exclusively played Bermuda, which is why he's got some bad results here. So it's interesting to see. Based on the approach and off the tee numbers alone, I'm excited. And he's shown the ability to putt well, at least. Now, if all of these were negative, then I would have a lot more concern. But the fact that the irons have been good, they're not going to stay 5.5 good, but they've been good. They seem like they're generally positive anyway. The putting can spike. So this is a guy to kind of maybe keep an eye on, put an asterisk on, and so forth. Transition back to Microsoft Excel. Let's see. I just want to select all and off limit to there. Let's see if we can't figure out maybe someone on the opposite end, someone who's gotten a lot of high finishes, but the data says perhaps a bit of fool's gold here. So let's do average finish, smallest to largest, and let's see if we can't figure out some things here. So right off the bat, Rory, he played one event. It was the CJ Cup at the Summit Club, the brand new course, or at least in the rotation for the CJ Cup. He wins it. I'm going to kind of throw that out. Rory's one of the best players in the world. Same with Colin Morikawa. So the highest player who has played often is Sam Burns. And I don't think this is fool's gold here. I mean, Sam Burns has quickly become one of the better players on the PGA Tour. I mean, you see that the approach, the off the tee game has been immaculate. Around the green, putting has always been kind of a hit and miss with Sam Burns, but he's putting well. This to me doesn't say outlier or fool's gold. He's playing great. Matthew Wolff is somebody I kind of want to take a look at here. His off the tee game has been okay. That's generally his best. What I'm concerned with is his putting, because he's never been known as a great putter. His approach is less than 1 per event, which isn't terrible, but I don't think this is going to be a recipe for sustained success. Easy enough for me to say. Sustained success. So he's played 4 events. He's got an average finish of 9th. So let's filter on Matthew Wolff here. Get off of there. Matthew Wolff. Yep. And let's see the tournaments that he has played in. We'll start with the Fortinet. He did not play the Sanderson Farms. Here we go. So he finished 17th here, and he had a pretty darn good tournament. 2.3 off the tee, 1.5, 1.1 on the green. So this was just a solid event for Matthew Wolff. Guys have solid events. I'm trying to find out where the outliers. Here we go. There's the outlier. So this one event where he gains 7 strokes on the green, he finished 2nd. at the Shriners behind Sung Jae. When you gain 7 strokes, I mean, he had a great week with the irons. He was very good around the green. I'll give that to you. But when you see 7 strokes, you got to think this is going to come back down to earth. This is not Denny McCarthy. This is not Adam Hadwin. This has not historically been one of the best putters on the tour. So this gives me quite a bit of concern moving forward with Matthew Wolff, because I don't think the putter, I mean, obviously the putter's not going to be 7 strokes better than the field, but I don't think it's going to be 2 or whatnot moving forward. He did not play the RSM. He played Houston? He did. Again, he gains 3.3 on the greens at Houston, 4.3 around the green, but he loses 1.8 on approach. So let's see if we can find Matthew Wolff and see, because I'm thinking this is a bit of the fool's gold, a little bit of pyrite for those of you who are science nerds. Matthew Wolff. So Bermuda is his best putting surface historically, so I can accept a little bit of this. The courses have been fairly easy. He doesn't play well in the wind, and a lot of these places have been windy. You see here, like, the around the green game has come back pretty solid. I guess he's been a better putter than I've given him credit for. Yeah, see, I don't know. He's played 4 events that are all top 20s, which is promising, absolutely promising. The approaches have been meh. You've had 1 good one, actually 1 very good one, 1 pretty good, and 1 pretty bad. But all 3 of these that are measured, at least, have been positive in the putting. And all of these, the Shriners I think is bent, but Houston I know is Bermuda, Sanderson Farms is Bermuda. Sorry, I forgot to switch the web page. There you go. Sincerest apologies, I got to remember to do that. But you see here, I have some concern. I have some pause with Matthew Wolff. Clearly a very talented player. Can go out there and win 2 or 3 times in a season. I am a little wary on this right here. Now, Myakoba, he played well. We don't have those, overhead or the overhead statistics, so kind of hard to dig into that. But the irons have been lackluster. I mean, they're slightly positive, but mediocre. Now, the around the green game has steadily gotten better. You could say that for the putting too, I suppose. So I don't know. Maybe there's a bit more to believe about Matthew Wolff than not, but I'm certainly reining my expectations. I'm certainly not expecting another top 20 coming out or a run of top 20s or top 25s. That's somebody that, for me personally, I'm going to be a bit cautious of. But perhaps, the data is telling me maybe I shouldn't be. It's interesting. Comment below. What do you think? What do you think about Matthew Wolff heading into the beginning of the calendar year 2022? 4 great events in the fall, but a lot of that is predicated on these very successful putting weeks. And anyone who follows me knows that I don't value putting nearly as much as the iron play. So while we're here, the next person down on the list of fantastic putting performances in the fall has been Cameron Smith. Now, Cameron Smith has historically been a very good putter, better than Matthew Wolff. And he plays well in the wind, so I'm more willing to believe Cameron Smith's a little bit, but it's still, for me, a little bit cause of concern. He's got 3 top 15s. All of them are in the 2.5 and above on the putting. He's always been known as a good short game player. His irons are drastically improving. I don't want to say they're peaking because, at the Northern Trust, he gains 8.5. So, he's shown the ability to just go out and throw darts. The off the tee game is the thing that holds him back. So, I mean, it's a top 15, but his worst performance was at Houston, where off the tee mattered a ton. I mean, even at the RSM, it got pretty windy. He was slightly below average to the field. I'll put it this way. I believe in a bit more in Cameron Smith's positivity than Matthew Wolff's, just because there's been a history of not just success on the green, sustained and excellent success on the greens. He's always been a good short game player. The irons are coming around. Like, they're not coming around. They're there. But he was just, mediocre to now he is one of the better ball strikers on tour. So I believe in a bit more of the success of Cameron Smith than I do Matthew Wolff. Let's switch back to Microsoft Excel here. See if we can't find some other perhaps outliers here. Let's see. You got Taylor Gooch, who I am all in on. Guy has been playing some fantastic golf. His fall is downright asinine. How good it's been. Let's do all. I'll get off there. Select Taylor Gooch. Get Matthew Wolff out of here. Matthew Wolff. Let's go to Taylor Gooch. Click, yep. All right, and we don't want Houston. Well, we could look at Houston. So this is the one event that he had a very bad weekend. He lost a ton of strokes on the green. He was very middling with off the tee and approach. This was his one bad event. And remember, he has played 6 events with an average of 15th. So, when you have a 60th in there with this few events, you're going to have some high finishes. So, there's Houston. Obviously, he's coming off the win at the RSM, where he gains 5 strokes putting. I would be hesitant if this was, a common theme among Taylor Gooch's success in the fall. This is a very good week. The irons I do believe in. He is top 15, top 20 on tour of all players in strokes gained approach. He does not get nearly the credit for the iron player he is. Now, is he 6.3 every tournament good? No. Colin Morikawa isn't that. But the iron play has been sustained. The putting popped at the RSM. You come to the Fortinet, the opening week, still was good. Strokes gained approach. He gained it a lot on around the green. So he's showing you different ways of how he can win. This was a 4th. You go to the Sanderson Farms. Didn't play. Shriners on bent grass. He actually loses strokes putting. Loses off the tee. But he was great with the irons and the around the green. We saw Houston Fortinet CJ Cup. 5th. Again, off the tee was his downfall. But the iron play has been there. Putting has been pretty good. The around the green game has been very good. When he gets into a tournament where off the tee is going to matter, that's where Taylor Gooch is going to struggle. And I don't feel like he has been that bad historically off the tee. He's been worse. So I didn't think he was going to be this bad. But he was pretty bad in his last 10. Kind of got to a point where it was really bad. So here's your 2 culprits right here. The Travelers and the Memorial, where he was really, really bad off the tee. Damn it. I'm sorry. I've got to keep remembering to go over to web page and Excel views. So here are your 2 culprits right here. Loses, in between 4 and 4.5 at these 2 tournaments. And that's what's driving the last 10. He's generally not been great off the tee anyway. He'll be, 1.5, 2, 1.5. So when he gets into a tournament that off the tee will matter, Taylor Gooch is going to struggle. Just a bit of a spoiler or a preview, say Tournament Century of Champions, Kapalua. The off the tee game it'll be interesting to see, and we'll do some, next week and the week after, some comparison type course statistics. But that is a course that probably off the tee is going to matter, just because of the distance required. In fact, let's take a look here. Let's see, approach proximity, distance accuracy. That's what we want. So he's generally been kind of average with the distance. It's his fairways. So you see here, left and right fairways. So he's spraying it. The distance is there. The greens, obviously, just due to the sheer lunacy of his irons. And the good drives are there because he's hitting the greens in regulation. When he gets into a narrow driving course, think Riviera, think Torrey Pines, Augusta. Those kinds of events could give him trouble, where you just have to find the fairway, or you're gonna have a hard time going of it. Those kinds of places, it seems like Taylor Gooch would struggle. In fact, we can kind of check and see if he's, So the Genesis is Riviera. He was 12th there. Let's see. Anything else that strikes out here? Sony, Farmers, Genesis. Well, there you go. So he's played the Genesis well. So he's hit the fairways when he's needed to. This is strange. I'm all in on Taylor Gooch. The numbers say that he would struggle when hitting the fairways a premium, but he's shown the ability to hit fairways when he has to. So perhaps he's clubbing down, or at the Fortinet he was just bombing away. I mean, even at the RSM he was taking driver and hybrids on a lot of things and finding the fairways. So his irons, I can't say enough for it. The lunacy of his irons. 6.5, 5.5, 5.5, 5.5. And it's sustained. This is sustained success. These aren't the pops. Look at the pops down here. 7.5, 7. This guy can hit some iron shots. He's he has the spike when he has the spike performances, and it's not like he has to have a big spike to win or to compete. He gains 1.5. He top fives the CJ Cup. He gains 2 on the greens. Top fives the Fortinet. Taylor Gooch is going to be the real deal, I think. I think he's going to be the real deal this year, especially. Switch it back over to Excel here. Make sure chat's still up. And let's see. We'll get everybody back up here and click on all. Let's see if we can't find some other guys here who perhaps are a bit more fool's gold. I'm trying to find guys who have played enough. Like Aaron Wise, he's been just solid. Nothing here that would scream, underperformed or overperformed. Mac Hughes kind of does Mac Hughes things around the green and putting. He's never really been great off the tee. Victor Hovland's doing Victor Hovland things. Great off the tee, pretty good on approach. Can't chip for the fuck. And putts okay. McNeely, somebody who's had a great fall. The numbers don't jump out, but they're just consistent success. So that's interesting. Again, if you're live, guys, jump in chat. Let me know what you're seeing or what you want to look at. Basically, what I wanted to do is, kind of find these guys like Matthew Wolff, Cameron Smith. If Rory had played more than one event, the guys that are basing their success off of strokes gained putting when they're not typically a great putter. I just looked at, I saw 4.9, and it's a person who played once. You know, somebody that I don't think would keep their success, like Hideki here. He's averaged 33rd with a win. This normally would say, hey, he's underperformed. He's just been bad on the greens. Well, it's Hideki. He's just bad on the greens. Louis kind of generally the same. He's not as bad as, say, Sergio or Hideki, but he's not the greatest of putters. Corey Connors. Now, see, Corey Connors is generally, 1.63 in the approach. Maybe a slightly positive in the putting, or negative, because he's never been known as a great putter. It's getting better. But his iron play is generally what's the best. So that's interesting to see. Let's just sort by events real quick. See who's played the most. See if we can't dissect some stuff here. Dang it. Sort on events. Largest to smallest. Let's see. So Hoagy, Malnati, and Sepp Straka have all played 8 events. We looked at Tom Hoagy earlier. Seems like he probably is underperformed just due to the fact of his irons. Malnati and Straka, I think those are pretty accurate for the types of players they are. Tringali. I'm trying to see if there's anything that's just really, really out of line. Luke List, he's just a bad putter in of himself. Adam Long, I mean, he's averaged 40th, but I don't think he's that great of a putter. We have to jump back and forth between XL and Fantasy National, and I don't want to keep doing that. Now, Denny McCarthy's the opposite. Denny McCarthy is a sustained, successful putter. He's just a very good putter. There's Mito, Sung Kong, Russell Knox, Grillo. So, yeah. I only highlighted a few guys there, but I'm hopefully you all can see kind of the approach, the line of thinking that I came into this with. And again, this is going to be kind of a preview or a precursor to a big show on Tuesday, December 28th. So, make sure you tune into that as you do every week. But that's a show I'm really looking forward to. We'll have a whole lot of data. We'll have this from the fall plus the comparison course stuff. Basically, the culmination of all the stuff, all the gathering of data that I've done throughout the quote-unquote off-season. But yeah, so if we wanted to dig into the specifics, real quick, I don't know if I want to do that. I mean, look at all this data. I'm starting to see spreadsheets in my sleep from gathering all this stuff. Again, I'll give it a couple more minutes. If you're in chat, by all means, jump in. I want to see, I want to hear who you're wanting to look at, or, what's a narrative that you think is accurate, and if you want to check it. Let's see if there's anybody else here that kind of jumps out at me. I'm trying to think of the winners. Sung Jae, Sam Burns. We can check Max Homa, the winner at the Fortinet, because I don't remember him doing a whole lot since. Max Homa. He's played 4 events, average of 51st. So yeah, he wins the Fortinet, the first event of the year, but pretty darn mediocre otherwise. Definitely just kind of, I don't want to say treading water. I mean, gaining 3/4 of a stroke on average is pretty darn good. So let's look at the Fortinet when he won. He gained 3.5 off the tee. So, I mean, you see here, this is just a great week, and guys have great weeks. But there's got to be something here where his numbers really tail off. So Fortinet, then he comes to the Sanderson Farms, he didn't play. The Shriners, he didn't play. Then he goes to the CJ Cup. So yeah, he was one of the worst players at the CJ Cup, because the CJ Cup's a no-cut event. I think there's 76 or 77 players there this year. So he was one of the worst performers. Nothing went well except for around the green, so that's really tanking some of the numbers. Then Bermuda, we don't have all the stats for. Mayakoba, we don't. Zozo, we don't. So then we would go to Houston, 35th, so fairly mediocre. Loses around the green, loses putting. The approach was there. And then RSM. Yeah, missed the cut. Pretty middling all the way around. So, I don't want to say the Fortinet was a fluke by any means. He's a solid PGA pro, and he showed at Houston that he has game other than that spike week at Fortinet. His irons can get good. The off the tee game's pretty good. So I wouldn't say this is an outlier by any means. Let's see, Homa, Sam Burns we talked about Gooch. I guess we can check Sung Jae real quick. Again, guys, if you're live in chat, by all means, because after Sung Jae, I'm probably going to wrap it up. Again, I didn't have a set plan really for this show, since it was kind of an idea I had last night, since I didn't have the comparison course stuff. Let's look at all. I've had Houston, so he's had 4 events. He's averaged 15th, so he's been playing really, really good anyway. And that leads into what I was kind of thinking about Sung Jae leading up to his win, that it was just a matter of time. The game was kind of coming back. Hopefully you've followed me long enough that I've been kind of following on Sung Jae. I've been touting him a lot in DFS. He's been pretty successful, and then he goes and wins at the Shriners when I don't bet him, because I'm very intelligent like that. But so he wins the Shriners. Let's see what that week was all about. Yeah, so he just had a spike week putting. He's pretty darn good. He just had a great week all around, but he's pretty darn good with the approach. We saw that he played at Houston. Again, he gained 5 strokes on approach. He just didn't play well. His short game just didn't play well. He was good off the tee and on the approach. CJ Cup, I bet he played because he's Korean. Yeah. So he actually had a bad week with the irons. The off the tee game's been there. And one more. Did he play Sanderson Farms? He did. Pretty bad tournament for him. It was just all on chipping, which for me, it's kind of like putting. You just can't bank on it. But the off the tee has been consistently there. So a lot of good stuff there. Guys, a little bit of a shorter show. I apologize for that. Gives you a light appetite after a heavy turkey week. But make sure to tune in next week. We're really gonna hammer in on the comparison course stuff. In fact, let me bring it up over here off to the side and then drag it over. I'll show you what has been the, not necessarily issue, but so you can see here I'm gathering all this information Fantasy National has, but I'm going years back. This is Houston. That's only 2 years because of that course. Something like Sony, who's been at the same course for the past 5 years, I'm gathering 5 years of data. So that's what's taken a while. I definitely didn't realize how much I had bitten off before I started to chew it. But the work's going in there. I'll have enough for a show next week on the comparison course stuff. Just don't have it for tonight. I also have to figure out how I want to organize this data. It's just a conglomeration of numbers. So I got to find a neat way to organize it all. But guys, hopefully you appreciated and liked the look on the fall. I know it was fairly quick, only highlighted a few players. I don't plan on doing anything for the Hero World Challenge unless I have a lot of requests for it, which right now I don't. So my tentative plan is not to do the Hero World Challenge or the QBE Shootout, but instead continue to do some analysis on comparison course stuff, looking at players coming up for the 2022 calendar year and so on. If there's enough requests, I'll do something for it, a light show or whatnot, but right now I don't plan on it. So with that, that's going to be the 2022 statistical analysis of the fall season. As always, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate the support. For any bets that you have made this week, the week after Thanksgiving, any bets that you have placed next week on the Hero World Challenge, and until I see you next Tuesday night, may all your bets